Considers herself to be a witch. I consider herself to be a witchy too. Traversing spiritual paths by offering genuine insight and guidance, free from toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. Oh my God, girl. That is beautiful. I mean, I know you do that, but it's nice to see it in writing. Jody specializes in crafting tailored card spreads, blending tarot cards and mediumship to address the unique circumstances of each individual. Now, I want to say something. I am biased. I am all sorts of things when it comes to Jody, but what I will say is I'm fussy as fluff when it comes to who I direct other people to go and visit when it comes to mediumship, when it comes to tarot readers. And she calls herself a tarot slinger. I love that. Card slinger, just flinging. I love that. She is good at what she does. Welcome, Jody. Thank you for gracing me and everyone else again with your presence. Love you. Mwah.
Mwah, I love you. And thank you. I'm so happy to be here today. I love working with you, sweetheart. I just love it. I
Oh.
love it because your energy is always so effervescent and high vibing. And I love that because I know a lot of times we feed off each other that really high energy. Um, yeah, so I chose to talk to you all about goddess energy work.
Yes.
And then I was super busy because there was an eclipse and there was a bunch of stuff and I didn't prepare anything. So I love teaching like this because it's going to be flying off the cuff. I was in my garden this morning, really getting grounded, getting into the dirt. And I was like, okay, Earth Goddess, we've got some women and maybe some guys, some people who are going to be meeting today. Give me some wisdom and support me through this.
And they never fail you.
Oh, never. And I actually like teaching like this because I don't know, it just flows better. I don't know.
I agree with you.
And then it feels more like a download and less like I'm lecturing you,
Yes.
right?
That's how I do all my work now. I have like maybe a couple of words over here, but I'm literally like, okay, what are you telling me to do? And I do it.
Mhm.
Anyway.
And I love it. And the reason I wanted to talk about goddess energy is because, like Tara said, I do identify as a witch. And for me, that means doing very specific manifestation work, working with very high goddess vibrational energy, and almost like building a relationship with that deity. And a lot of us are raised in like that kind of general Christian idealist, like that's the culture of our world, right? A lot of people come from that background and I didn't vibe with that, but that real the way that preachers talk about a relationship with their deity is the way I feel about my relationship with goddesses. Like they're my sisters, like I can call on them in a crisis, like when I'm scared, when I don't have faith in myself, when I'm really feeling human, I feel like I can reach to that high vibrational feminine wisdom as a support, as a reminder of how powerful we are. And some of the wording I use on my website is that as women, we beat with the drum of creation. We beat with the energy of the goddess Gaia. We are limitless in the energy we have, in the resources we have. As women, we tend to feed our community spiritually, emotionally, supportively, and actual food. We have all of that. And that's why I like working with goddess energy. And I can feel it coming in because I can feel myself getting hot and flushed.
Look at me, I'm turning like I'm breaking out in hives.
Right.
Like, woo, here we go.
So here come all the goddesses in. So I'm going to share with you before we do messages. And I really, what my intention was today is, although I am a card slinger and extraordinaire, I do want to be giving you energy from, or messages from goddess energy. So I'm going to actually call in some goddess energy. One of the goddesses I work very closely with, I consider her my sister, is Freya. Freya is a Norse goddess. She's from the Norse tradition. She is the leader of the Valkyries. So when Valkyries are running in a herd on their flying horses, that is my girl Freya at the front. She also has been known, there's lore of her riding a chariot that is pulled by cats. So all of you women out there who love your cats and your kittens, that's Freya energy. She's a warrior goddess. And I feel like some of us in our culture, like we're very familiar with the idea of the maid, the mother, and the crone. Okay. And I want to reframe maiden energy for you. I am tired of maidens who are in towers, who are delicate flowers. When I talk about maiden energy, I talk about shield maidens. Do you guys know that the actual tradition of having maids of honor at your wedding with you, women with you, is they were to beat up and defend anyone who tried to harm you as you traveled from your home village to the village of your betrothed?
Oh, okay. I did not know that. In all
This
the
is
work
what
I've
happens
done,
when you go down the feminist rabbit hole.
is that why I had like 3 maid of honor, 16? Carry on, carry on.
So I want to start thinking about maiden energy, not as these beautiful flowers, but as women who are in that vibrant time of their life when they are fearless, experimenting with who they are, trying on different hats, trying on different roles, trying to decide where they want to be in the world before they step into the role of mother. Everything before mother is maidenhood. And that's going to university, leaving your family, getting your PhD. That's all warrior goddess energy. That's all conquering energy. Then, so that's Freya, warrior goddess. Now Freya is a mother. She does get married. She is a woman in her middle ages. She's very wise. She's who I call on when I need to feel brave, when I want a battle to be swayed in my favor, because that is the job of the Valkyries. They sway battles and they pick up the wounded. So, as fierce as she is, Freya has a deep, 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 compassionate heart because she reaps the souls of the fallen soldiers. And it's actually in the lore, Freya gets first choice of the fallen soldiers to go to her hall and chill with her, waiting for Ragnarok before anyone goes to Valhalla with Odin and all the other dudes.
Okay, this is so, now I work with goddesses. Now,
Mm-hmm.
not at exact this level that you are this in depth. You know how I work, everything is just channeled through
Yeah.
me. Diana's coming through, then I don't need all the background. I need Diana here right now. I am literally enthralled. I am like, okay, Valhalla. Oh, okay, where are we going? Yeah, and
Well, see, and I don't do the research. I have sister witches who are like serious library witches
oh, you,
that
we,
research, that know the lore, that know how to pronounce things in Old Norse. And I'm like, thank you, sister, because I'm I'm a I'm busy with my kids. I don't have the time to do that research. But this is all like from people who are Norse historians.
I swear to the great goddess, you guys, I'm saying this to the audience in Facebook, and I'm saying this to everyone here. I have collected these beautiful souls that focus on one aspect of something so that I can do what I do and reap the benefits of what Jody does and what Nancy does. I have an animal communicator. I have a witch. I, I love you. Carry on.
Oh, and Nancy knows everything about animal symbology and rocks. You can put a rock in her hand. She knows what rock it is.
Oh, yeah, crystals too. And I have Christine Wong for crystals. I mean, it's
Mhm.
ridiculous. I will stop interrupting you though.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm so excited.
So
Brad.
now the next energy I want to talk to you all about, and this is one that I think is really, really, really important. This is crone energy. crone goddesses. These goddesses are badass. And I tend not to call on them for frivolous things because, like my mom, who is in her 70s, they do not have time for BS. They do not suffer fools. So when you call on the crone goddesses, stuff gets done. And you must be prepared for the most direct route to your goal. You with me, girls? So these are Baba Yaga. Love her energy. She is a kind of like a swamp haggish kind of beautiful energy who lives in a house on chicken legs. I believe it's like Ukrainian and Russian lore. It's Russian. Thanks, baby. And that chicken leg house is also a refuge for young maidens. Baba Yaga is known to murder men who harm maidens. She is an energy you do not want to mess with, but she's also a great energy to call on if maidens you love are in love with men who treat them badly. You can build an altar to Baba Yaga and you can ask her assistance for the young women in your life to have clear seeing, to find refuge. And I know every one of us has women in our lives who have gone through things. Baba Yaga is like the best fairy godmother. She's not going to put you in a ball gown. She's going to swoop in, protect, and give you tools. Another great crone I put her in a crone goddess because that's how she comes to me. But some other people I know who work with this next goddess, she comes to them as a very beautiful middle-aged woman, and that is the Morgan. The Morgan is an Irish Celtic goddess. She's another, I think I've been through a lot of stuff in my life because I tend to work with war goddesses. I think there's a theme of like my life path. So she is another goddess who will sway a battle in your favor. She is associated with ravens. She has long, dark, black hair like midnight. Super wise, very powerful. She is also a seer. She has the sight. She's associated with like that kind of fey realm. So she's a wonderful goddess. So anytime you have something in your life where you would want to pray for something or manifest something or need help bigger than yourself, because sometimes our problems are bigger than ourselves and we want to pull in energy to support the work we're doing, I suggest taking a space on your altar. If it's not your altar, goddesses know we're busy. It can be the top of your dresser. Get some things that would resonate or represent that goddess, right? So if it's the Morgan, right, you want to look at little black ravens. You can get a photograph of a raven. Do your research. I don't want to give you a prescription because I want, when you're working with these entities, for you to be guided with your heart. I want you to be in the crystal shop going, okay, I'm building an altar to the Morgan today because I am going for a new job and I want to sway the competition in my favor. So I'm going to ask the Morgan to sway this battle I'm fighting. So you go into your local crystal shop and you open up your clairs and you hold those crystals and you go, is this right for my altar to the Morgan? You go get some flowers, pick the ones that, because you know you're inherently wise. You have the drum of Gaia beating inside you all the time. Your intuition and your wisdom is perfectly right for you. You're always going to pick it right. There is no wrong way to build the altar because it's a representation of your devotion and your worship and your desire for relationship with these goddesses. Does that make sense? Everyone who that makes sense for, or give me like a little heart emoji or a little wave. Let me know I'm with you. There we go. Yay! Look at all these little heart emojis. Some goddesses have a time of year where they're more strong. Okay. For all of you creatives, all of you women who create, who are, whether you're writing, whether you're drawing, whether you're like me and you're podcasting, whatever you're creating, Bridget. Bridget is a goddess of creation. She's often thought of as a fire goddess. Okay, but as you dive into the wikis and you dive into some of the books, she's a Celtic goddess, but there's a lot of thought um, that she used to be like a triple-headed goddess. So some Bridget things you'll read, she's associated with a well, and some she's associated with fire. And so scholars are starting to think that it's because she was like a triple-faced goddess. So they're thinking there was a water goddess, a fire goddess, and a crone goddess. And we've lost the crone goddess of Bridget. They don't know who she is yet. Maybe we'll find out in the future, because anthropologists are diving deeper into goddess lore, because now women are anthropologists. So they're going to be looking at our history and our stories. So, I'm just going to pause and I'm just going to put a pin in something. So I know some people listening might be going like, people are going to go, oh, she's really strongly feminine. She's like a feminazi. No, my role, my job, my passion is to elevate the feminine back into a place of balance with the masculine. I'm not a hater of the masculine energy. I am a lover of divine masculine energy. It's just that the culture we've been living in since, like, I don't know, 1810 has been lifting up the masculine and suppressing the feminine. And we're now at that point where we're rebalancing. So what might appear like, oh, I'm like anti-masculine energy. No, I love me some Balder in the Norse pantheon. I love me some Thor, right? But I want to elevate the feminine so that we're back in balance. So we have that figure eight of energy swirling between Tara and your Thor love. But we want that figure eight of energy swirling between the masculine and the feminine. We want that balance. We want that balance within ourselves. We want that balance within our men, within our sons, within our daughters, within our leaders, within our community. Right? And in order to do this, we want to lift up the feminine, put her back where she belongs. So I was on Bridget. Yeah. So what you want to do, all of you creatives, build an altar to Bridget. She's associated with Imbolc, which is the spark of life before spring. There's a lot of fire ceremonies for her. And when you're feeling writer's block, when you're in front of your painting and you don't know what to do, build your altar to Bridget. Call her in. You can also call in Greek muses. You can call in, there's another name for the Roman and the Greek goddesses, they overlap a lot, but they're muses, or, oh, I forget the Roman name from, but they will come in. You can ask them for inspiration. They can come forward. They can help you through times. These are I believe they're entities. I believe they're energies we can tap into, and they're so willing to offer you their energy, their vibes, the same way as like we call on guardian angels. They don't come until we call them. The goddess energy is the same. The goddess I'm working the most with now, she's a First Nations water goddess. There's a lot of stuff on the internet about Yamaye and about, Aphrodite and all these warm Mediterranean goddesses. And I would paddle out in December into the Howe Sound with my little life jacket and everything. And I'd be like, this isn't the same energy that I'm reading about. Like, there is this deep compassion in our oceans. there's this dark storminess in our oceans. And it was an energy that I wasn't learning about. So I started talking to some of my First Nation friends. I started having conversations. I'm like, tell me, like, who is this goddess? Because I'm working with her and I don't know her name. And she feels calm, and she holds my tears. There's many days when, just to be very candid and very honest, that I would have a bad anxiety day. So I would go out on my paddleboard the next day. The next day I had off work, I'd go on my paddleboard, I'd get out into nature, and I'd be on the water. And my phone is waterproof, so I can journal into my phone. So I'd, pick a beautiful spot and I'd start journaling and basically emotionally vomiting into my phone as I cleared stuff. And then I'd go for a dip in the water, and the healing that would happen, like the salt water coming out of my eyes right into the ocean and back again. And I wanted to know this goddess. And I've learned that her name is Sedna. And she has a very, very tragic story. She was a beautiful woman, and her father wanted her to marry. And she didn't want to marry the man her father wanted her to marry. She didn't want to marry at all. So he took her out into his canoe and he said, "You have to marry." And she said, "No, I will not." And so he threw her overboard in the canoe because she wasn't a daughter who listened. And she grabbed on to the canoe, and he took his knife and chopped her fingers off until she fell, and her fingers fell into the bottom of the ocean. And she was in the bottom of the ocean, and she was in deep, deep despair and deep, deep grief and deep, deep betrayal. And she cried and cried and cried and cried. And then she healed. And out of her fingers, she made all of the seals and all of the whales and all of the creatures of the oceans, our Pacific white-sided dolphins, everything. And so she lives in the ocean, and all of the animals that used to be her fingers go through her hair, her long, beautiful mermaidy hair. And the fisher people, our First Nations fishers, they know when Sedna is mad at them because she calls her children back home to her and keeps them out of their fishing nets. So many First Nations people will give her offerings and do things to make her happy so that she sends the fish to the nets. And that is the goddess I'm working with the most now. And the amount of compassion and healing I have found in the cold, gray Pacific Ocean. She has taught me forgiveness, mainly forgiveness of self, for what to do with that burning anger we have inside ourselves, and I'm not afraid of anger at all, but how to keep it from becoming that heart-hardening resentment, and how to let the ocean cool that with my tears and with her tears, to allow that grief to be processed. So I offer you her name, Sedna, to do your research, to get to know her. And any of you who are in the Lower Mainland or on the Vancouver Island, or even northern up around like Prince Rupert, up in those cold oceans, the next time you're near the ocean and you look out into that gray water, just think about her. Try to connect with her. It's so powerful. Her presence is so very powerful. And then I go to this place where I think about, out of her grief, she created things like our humpback whales, right? So that's who I'm working with the most now.
I love that. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's beautiful energy, right? And it's very, very different than if we're looking at like Oshun, which is a goddess of rivers and oceans down in Africa, right? Oshun is a goddess I work with as well. But Oshun is much more like a patron goddess of mothers, of like the womb The womb waters is Oshun.
Yeah.
She's very mothery. She's very soft. She's very welcoming. And Sedna is welcoming, but she opens her arms to people who are holding pain, who have experienced hardship, who've experienced betrayal and loss.
I was
Where
just,
Oshun is giving you support as you birth yourself as a mother, right? It's a very different energy.
we're talking about water goddesses, and one of the
Yeah.
ones that I started working with was Yamea. And
Yeah.
I just, and like I said, I am that person who just, if that's what's given to me, I go with it. I don't need to know anything. I just go with it. And I just looked her up because we're talking about this. And she is the ocean mother goddess in Santeria, an Afro-Caribbean religion practiced around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought to myself, okay, that explains how she appears to me for sure.
Yes.
But there are so many. This just goes to show you that there are different goddesses for the ocean based on different philosophies and energies that are required.
Well, and like the ocean, like the Mediterranean Ocean is very different than our Pacific Ocean,
For sure. For sure.
right? Like the Mediterranean Ocean is like full of iguanas and baby turtles. Like it's very I like to think of it like all deity energy. Like I like to think of it as this amazing, beautiful disco ball. And every facet is a different reflection of that same source energy,
Oh, I like that.
right? So it's all source, it's all love, it's all power, it's all beautiful.
Mhm.
But some of us resonate with different spectrums of that rainbow being reflected.
Right? Interesting.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Love it. Love it. Keep going, girl.
What other goddesses can I think of? Well, and let's talk about ways to work with it, right? Because whoever is speaking to you, whatever goddess comes to you, that's perfect and right for you. And sometimes they'll come by, like when I started working with the Morgan, we have crows more often than ravens in the lower mainland, but there was crows following me on my walks. There was crows that's on my house. And I was like, okay, I've got a new crow goddess. And I had to do some work and follow and find her. And once I clicked that it was the Morgan, I'm like, oh, made total sense for what was going on in my life at the time. So you may start like I tend to work with nature. I'm a nature loving witch. I'm outside a lot. So if I was walking around a lot this spring and I started seeing garter snakes every time I went on a walk, I'd be like, okay, what goddess is associated with snakes? Is this a Gorgon, like a Medusa style goddess trying to reach out to me? I would look at, what am I into right now? What am I being pulled to? And start going down those little rabbit trails. You can always, 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 yes, exactly, like we do with spirit animals, right? You can just take it that one step further. You can start opening yourself up to like, okay, I'm open to finding my patron goddess. Please give me signs, sister. And then be open. And I know if you guys are in this spirit essence group, I know you know when you're being pulled to something. I know you know when something resonates. I do not have to cover that with you. So follow that deep knowing that you have. It's always right. You know it's right. Start opening up like what another thank you. Another good way is to look at who are my goddesses? Who are my people? Right? Like if you notice a lot of the goddesses I work with are Celtic and Irish. Well, my mom's family's Irish, right? My grandfather's father came here from Ireland. So that's in my blood. I live in North America. I respect First Nations. I am on this land, paying homage to this land, protecting this land. So it makes sense that Sedna would be cool to work with me. So go into like, where are your roots? Where are your people? And it could even be past life. Like maybe you were in Egypt, friend. Maybe you walked on this earth in Latino countries a few thousand years ago. What were those goddesses? Find out what they are. See which ones pique your curiosity. Start researching. Find ways to honor them, right? I leave very specific, I'm someone who leaves offerings on my altar. I have an altar. I leave offerings for my ancestors. I leave coffee. They were farm people. They loved coffee. For all of the Norse goddesses I work with, I leave beer. I have a lot of beer on my altar. They like beer. For the Fae people I work with, I leave Skittles. I don't know why, but the fairies I work with really like Skittles. So
Colors, colors, baby.
I leave things that are rich and beautiful and important to me. I love chocolate. To me, it is a sacrifice to give you part of my Lindor chocolate. I do not give it to my children, but I will give it to my altar. So there are ways to find homage. You can connect with your goddesses if you're an auto writer, right? You can open up your clairs, you can get really grounded and say, I want to connect with you. Do you have a message for me? And do practice your auto writing. And it's a tiny shift. Instead of opening up to spirit, to the message that is best for you now, you with purpose say, I am open to Freya. What do you got for me, sister? And let it flow.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you do it, the more you will get to learn the personality that comes through, the way she speaks to you, the way she gives you wisdom. They have different feels, they have different vernaculars. Like Baba Yaga is straightforward. Same with the Morgan. Well, the Morgan's straightforward, but I find, Tara, do you find this? Like, she likes eloquent words. She
She also
speaks with
likes
it.
symbols,
Yes.
like signs, right?
Yes.
So sometimes you have to kind of go in there and be like, okay, I hear you. Mm. And she's giving you like a symbol, a sign. That's what
Mhm.
I find with her.
Mhm. I find Isis gives a lot of pictures,
Yeah,
lots
she
of pictures.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is great because then I can see them in my mind's eye. I don't often write down what she gives me, but I'll see them flash through my mind's eye more in symbology, more photos.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
I would just like to put it out there that my first and my middle name are goddess names. Thank you, Mom.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to have a white or a green in front of Tara,
Well,
but
and you work with the green Tara, don't
I
you?
do. Yep, I do.
Why
So
don't you tell me? I don't work with her. Tell us about her.
for her energy, for me, it is really, really complacent. It allows me to sit into a place where there is peace. You know how Kuan Yin is my master teacher?
Mhm.
So she's compassion and mercy. Now, when you think of me, you don't always think of me as settled and calm. I mean, I'm turning green red,
Mm.
I'm doing all these things. But when I work with Green Tara, I feel nurtured. And I feel nurtured, like I feel nurtured
Instead
by
of you
her. And
doing the
so,
nurturing,
yes.
you're receiving the nurturing.
And if I turn and I work with White Tara, I feel electric. Even though that's not their components per se,
Yeah.
that is how I work with them. And Kuan Yin is my master teacher. So when I channel her, she just comes through really in this compassionate way, yet with the force that I need to have it come through so it is resonating. Right? Because I'm fast,
Yeah.
I'm quick. You know how we all talk about yoga? I just did a first like real serious yoga class in a retreat last weekend. And did I like it? Sure. Would I go again? Probably. Would I make it a part of my life's work? Absolutely not. Because I need to like listen to heavy metal and be moving really quick and lifting weights. That's me.
Yes.
So when Green Tara comes in, it's nurturing. She is nurturing me. She is reminding me to take care of myself. She's reminding me to look at the bigger picture of what I'm doing. White Tara is electric. It's like, okay, now I can listen to, the Ramones and do whatever I'm doing. And then when Kuan Yin comes in, though, her messages are so powerful and purposeful, but yet gentle. So
Mm.
those are how I work with them. So I'm listening to you and I'm going to be honest. And I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh, you sound so knowledgeable, eloquent. You sound like, I'm like, holy good God. It's a good thing I don't do a big thing on goddesses because you just sound so in that space. And whereas again, I am that. It's why I don't read tarot cards, because
Mhm.
you took all that time and you sat down and you learned what every card meant, and then you let that whatever extra came through. And I'm the person who says 8 of Cups means nothing to me, spirit. What does it mean? Oh, this is what it means.
I know, it's so cute though.
So I can read tea leaves
Mhm.
without even people like drinking the tea, because I don't wait. I just get them.
I love you so much. Let
And
me
I'm
thank
not afraid to
you.
say it, because that's the way I work. And you know what?
Mhm.
25 years you've been doing this work, 22 years
Mhm.
I've been doing this work, and it's never failed us the way we
No,
work.
no.
Right?
And oh, that's interesting. I'll go there.
Yes,
I
cool.
just got a poop, and then I'll start giving some messages. So
Cool.
the last thing I want to say is I find it easy to connect with goddess energy, right? It's a high vibe. You go up. We train to do that. There was a couple years in my life where I had a very trying time and my energy was not high vibe. I was in a lot of I was in survival mode for a couple years. That's how I will say that. It was a Phoenix fire, blah blah blah. What I found though is when I couldn't go up and get the messages, I found that my goddesses kept coming to me and giving me signs. There were perfect lined up feathers on my barbecue. There were dimes where I needed them to be. Every time I was like, they've forsaken me. I can't feel them because there's so much heavy grief around me. I would get a sign. And I knew it was my patron goddesses because I had that relationship and I knew what signs and symbols they sent me because I had built that practice when I was growing and developing
Yeah.
and working, and through the years I had developed that practice. So the reason they want me to tell you this is I want you to know that when you build this relationship, it's a relationship that goddess will continue to work with you. And if that means, you're working 2 jobs and putting yourself through school and you don't have a lot of time, she knows, and she's not resentful, and she doesn't feel like you're neglecting her. And I just broke out in goosebumps when I said that.
Me too.
Right?
Me
So
too.
know that this goes at your pace. She's a divine goddess. She's not working on our timeline. She has a limitless patience and
Yeah.
unconditional love and unconditional friendship. You give her your devotion, and she gives you back blessings. You seek her wisdom, and she will give it to you. The same way that we love it so much when our nieces or our daughters or our friends say, "Hey, can I get your opinion on this?"
Mm.
And we just feel so honored to be asked. That's why the goddesses are happy to work with us.
Oh,
Do you love that?
I
Let's
love
get some
that.
messages from them.
I want to thank you again, Jody.
I love you.
I love you. Mwah. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's